Why hello YouTube, this is BalorMage and this is going to be a bit of an update on my last League Start build that we did at the beginning of this league, which is the Physical Trapper. Now, many changes have happened to this. What I want to start with is there were two weaknesses to this build at League Start that were reasons that I didn't absolutely love the build as a League Start for my own personal needs, which was that it ran a little bit slowly, and also that there's a delay between throwing traps and dealing damage. However, since the league started, we have fixed both of those problems. One problem by putting on a Queen of the Forest and using that as our chess piece along with Grace to have our 45,000 plus evasion and just move really quick. You can see I don't even have an Onslaught flask in the background. I have no way of generating Onslaught. I could have dropped a flask for Onslaught, but I felt like this was fast enough, so I didn't. I did try it out temporarily, but I didn't really feel like I needed the extra speed. But you could, if you wanted to go faster, just run an Onslaught flask. But what you're seeing in the background here is already a movement speed of, I think it's 161, which is decently fast. So that solves that problem. And the other problem was the delay between throwing traps and dealing damage, which you can see in this mapping footage is just not there. We fixed that by having a notable on a cluster medium called Set and Forget, which reduces trap duration by 25%. We put 4 of them on, and that's 100% reduced, and now my traps get thrown, they arm, and then they go off immediately. So that is very exciting. So at the end of this video, we will throw in my very first Maven fight so that you can see that. If you're just interested in seeing that and grabbing the path of building, skip to the end of the video where we put it and grab the path of building from the description. But we will go over some things that changed in game. So here we are in my hideout. Sorry for the camera placement and the green screen. We only have one set up for recording currently. So there's a few different ways I've been speccing my skill points. I'll go over that in the path of building, but this is the important part. Set and Forget. There's a cluster notable. I've put it with Guerrilla Tactics because that is the best. Second notable. That's the same on every one except this one, which has our Arcane Surge. We get Arcane Surge out of that one with Set and Forget, and then Guerrilla Tactics, Set and Forget on all the others, of which we have the double cluster set up. So what this means is when I throw a trap, it arms and goes off immediately. Every time I throw a trap, it arms and goes off immediately. Doesn't matter what trap it is, arm and goes off. So you'll notice this also meant we had to drop our duration. The duration is directly a more multiplier for damage, so that is quite a bit of theoretical damage we've lost. But what we've gained is damage immediately, whether a mob triggers it or not, and the ability to very quickly put our damage down in a new location if a boss blinks. The cooldown is quite quick, so we do get to move our seismic traps very often. And so with this Set and Forget, they just go off automatically. And that's been very, very useful, and it's just felt a lot better. It's just felt a lot better. So moving into the path of building. Now, I will link the path of building the way I have it in game right now. I will link it in this exact fashion. However, there are quite a few little tweaks and changes that you can make to this build, especially as you're getting the final levels, especially, you know, basically just depending on what you need. I found that while mapping, I had way more than enough damage. You can see I'm just shy of 10 million right here. If I took an extra curse, which I can do, I go up to 10.5. Right now, I do not put Assassin's Mark on things. I just use vulnerability. So, you know, this is quite useful. It does give us quite a bit of extra damage. But there's a few things. We don't need this much damage, so I did end up dropping these force multipliers, even though they're really, really nice damage. And by dropping them, I was able to pick up extra life nodes, which brought my life up to, it's actually 4.4k in game. Oh, here it is, 4.48. Now at this stage, I was clearing fully juiced tier 16 maps. I did one 60% delirious map, but I never bother with delirious most of the time. But this was doing my super juiced, my blights. I actually didn't even change into the full bossing setup. I kept all my life when I did the Maven and the feared invitation and all of that. I didn't end up going for the extra damage. Now that I've reached level 94, this build's job is only to kill bosses. There will be no more mapping. I will not be playing it again. Its job is to kill bosses. So in that instance, I've decided to drop the extra floating life nodes because I'm pretty comfortable at about 4k life, and grab myself Whispers of Doom. I actually need to drop one more point somewhere, but I can't remember where it is. Oh no, I know what I was going to do. This is what I was going to do. I was going to drop all of that life there as well, and then pick up my extra floating life nodes that are around. And I was going to go into my bossing setup at only 3.9k health. So it's going to become a little bit squishier, but my damage goes up to 10.8. This has plenty of time to scale, plenty of room to get more stuff in. But honestly, for the amount that we've paid for this build, which I think is around the 9x total, having a few little respec options to be like, do I need more tankiness to be able to map properly, or do I just want the biggest amount of damage I can get, has made it really, really, really interesting and comfortable. You can see our crit is like a little bit low. I was originally crit capped because I was in crit medium clusters, but even though technically I dropped a little bit of DPS changing out of them and into these trapped clusters, it has felt a million times better. And the build has DPS to spare, so I was able to do that, and it's just felt way, way better to play. So yeah, plenty of options. If you get more levels, you can end up with all the extra life nodes, all the extra damage nodes all together all at once. There's another 2-socket jewel here if you wanted it. If you wanted to become full squish, you could drop the suppression wheel, but we are using the spell suppression mastery for critical strike chancing priest by spell suppression. And I do currently have not quite spell suppression cap. There it is. I've got 96% spell suppression. So it's close enough. I haven't been dying. Obviously, I've made it to level 94 in just a few days. So it has been fine. It's been doing all of the maps. I just wasn't bothering to get any further than that. But yeah, big changes. Big changes into double cluster. It's just felt a million times better. What I will note is if you're building this, there are 2 types of notables we can get here. So these 2 are important. You will have Ironbreaker and you will have Force Multiplier. Those are the very best. However, Battle Hardened can also be another one that I honestly can't remember the name of. But the other one has some all res and 35% fizz damage, that node. They both give the same amount of damage. One just gives you a little bit extra evasion and one gives you a little bit of all res. Either way, you'll make up the opposite of that, whatever it is, on your gear, so it's not that important. Also, if you opt to go for the slightly lower damage version and just not take Force Multiplier, that would mean you could get a much cheaper physical cluster. You could just get Ironbreaker and Battle Hardened with like a bad notable in the back and just not take that. And that could knock your price down as well, since the build has more DPS than it needs. This is also only the Seismic Trap DPS, and it's only with 4 of them down, which 1, 2, 3, 4 is all the charges you get. But then you've got a 5th one way before the first one expires and a 6th one right before the first one expires. So we end up with 4.5 down most of the time. Honestly, bosses, if you have 5 down when they spawn, they're dead. They're all dead. This build has killed every boss of the game. They're all insta dead. It almost globals them. You're not going to have to worry about it. am super impressed with the bossing in this build, basically. So some other options. I happened to use Viridi's Veil and Magic Ring setup to be just completely immune to curses because I really like that as a thing, and because I got Seismic Trap releases an additional wave quite cheap. But you can go with the Devouring Diem helmet instead, and that will just put your energy shield over your life over your mana instead. If you do that, you drop Ghost Dance, and you also drop Life Tap for Brutality. Actually, come to think of it, Brutality is probably better than Trap and Mind damage in here to begin with, so you'd probably drop Life Tap to go back to Trap and Mind damage. In an ideal world, Woke Brutality would be in both of these slots instead of Trap and Mind damage in both the Seismic Track and the Exsanguinate. I was just doing so much damage, I never bothered to stop and upgrade them. You can, if you want to squeeze out a little bit more DPS. That is technically the right way to do it. Also, if you go with the Devouring Diem, you will be able to fit a Herald in as well. Herald of Purity, if you do so, I think is its name, the physical one. And that on top of all of your current auras will definitely up your damage by quite a bit. So that is another really valid option. I do really like the Seismic Trap additional wave enchant, but the duration enchant is not bad either. I prefer the additional wave one. So yeah, those are your options. And trap build, honestly, this is probably the best league start we could have picked. If I could magically go back in time right now, I would be picking this build as my league start instead of anything else. Of all the ones we made, this one's been the generically fastest and strongest character. It's not quite as tanky as like the Champion Toxic Rain build, but it's quite a bit faster. And for the occasional death being that much faster and doing that much more damage, this is the one. This is the one. Yeah. All right. So that is it for this update. Path of Building will be in the description. We will hook up the Maven fight at the end of this video. And and before we say goodbye, please do remember to feed my YouTube algorithm by hitting all the buttons down below, typing some random shit into the comments. Feed YouTube, because that is how we get paid. Thank you all for watching, and I will see everybody next time. Sir, are you not done? I thought you'd be phased there. Oh, you are phased. Okay. Right, top, left. Oh. Wait, are you not done? Oh, you had the tiniest bit of health. I had to tap her one time. My bad. All right, let's go. I can remember this. Memory activate, go. Left, top, right. Top, right, top.
Scurry, scurry. Stand still. Do what I say. A cascade of pain.
You're gonna port, right?
Stand
There you are.
still.
Stop resisting. Punishment inescapable.
Arrogant toy. There will not be an escape.
Okay. Paying attention. Right. Top. Right. Top. Right. Top. Really?
Scurry.
Really? You couldn't have made that any fucking easier if you tried.
Just need a moment to catch my breath.
Stand still. A cascade of pain.
You
Nice.
forced an intervention, though.
All right.
You have
We did it.
proved your might.
No
You
deaths.
have proved
Victory.